Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2587 Resurrection 1. Looking at everything before him, Zhang Yi felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow. Because he saw a place that was extremely similar to Tianhai City, a super-modern civilization that had simply died. Will we one day come to this? Will the Tianhai City I built also become a dead city buried under yellow sand? Zhang Yi suddenly felt a sense of unease. There is no doubt that the Martian civilization was once an extremely powerful civilization, capable of building a stellar energy harvester that utilizes solar radiation to seal off its entire civilization. But in the end, it could not escape its fate of destruction. Not only Zhang Yi, but everyone in the shadows couldn't help but sigh when they saw this scene. I don't have the mood for sentimentality right now. Rather than thinking about the certain future, I'd rather live in the present. Zhang Yi slowly exhaled, then reached out and gestured towards the beach below. A large clump of sand instantly appeared in front of him. He rubbed the sand between his fingers and found tiny, indistinguishable flakes, like scales, yet forming regular geometric shapes. That's the ashes of data. A civilization dries its memories, grinds them up, scatters them on the ground, and lets the wind preserve them. Zhang Yi carefully instructed the AI to examine the pile of sand, and it quickly produced a compositional analysis result. A voice made Zhang Yi's eyes light up instantly. Traces of organic life have been detected. There is life in this world. These words made Zhou Kuer and the others, who were still feeling sentimental about the lost world, look up in surprise.
What?
There are still living beings here. That means that civilization in this world has not been completely extinguished. Zhang Yi squinted his eyes. This is a very interesting world. I'm becoming more and more interested in it. He looked around. The continent unfolds in a fan shape, with large, stepped metal mountain ranges, like an old fleet stranded on land, gradually swallowed up by rust and gravel. Further away, there is a city that, when viewed from above, resembles a blooming mechanical flower, its petals resembling towering structures curving outwards, their spires all pointing towards the artificial celestial body in the sky, as if receiving an eternal energy boost. Just as he looked down, the ground suddenly made a thud. That wasn't the sound of a normal earthquake, but the crisp sound of a mechanical lock being released. Narrow cracks appeared on the ground, peeling away like pages in a book, revealing rows of dark red sensor eyes inside. The next second, a whole swarm of metal bees roared up. They were small, only about the height of a person, like simplified humanoid mechs, but they all had a uniform cone-shaped chest cavity. A cold light flashed in the chest cavity, and hundreds of energy beams instantly intertwined into a net, covering Zhang Yi in the air. These are mechanical life forms. Zhang Yi was already used to seeing them appear. In advanced civilizations, these mechanically crafted warriors are very common, whether it be the Songyuan clan, the Wulwan Empire, or the Dragon clan. Strictly speaking, even Ling can be considered a top-level mechanical life form, because her body was entirely created, only infused with the life source, ether fragments. It seems that the trajectories of civilization development always have similarities. Buzz, buzz. In this desolate world, countless mechanical life forms emerge from beneath the beaches, from the ruins of cities, and even from the sea. Their eyes glowed red as they charged toward Zhang Yi, who was suspended in midair. Intruder detected. Eliminate all external intruders according to the programmed instructions.
Kill.
The Martian mechanical life form's eyes flashed with a blinding red light, and then a dense barrage of energy beams rained down on Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, but he wasn't in a hurry. Sizzle. 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 One crimson beam after another disappeared within a 3-kilometer radius around him, all being absorbed into the alternate dimension by Zhang Yi. Their energy level isn't low, Yet these guys are actually stronger than the mechanical life forms of the Tsongyuan clan. Zhang Yi was slightly surprised, because those mechanical life forms looked incredibly old, clearly indicating that they hadn't been maintained for many years. Unlike the engineered mechanical life forms of the Tsongyuan clan, all the mechanical life forms in this world are combat-oriented. Although Zhang Yi was not afraid of their attacks, there was no reason for them to harass him here. So Zhang Yi raised his sword and swept it out in all directions. The dark currents of the netherworld were like a black curtain being lifted, pressing forward with a whoosh and swallowing up all the energy jets without even a spark. The row of humanoid mechs below barely had time to fire a second round of shots before they were cut in half by the river of the netherworld. Splash! Most of their bodies were swallowed up by the netherworld, while the rest scattered into a shower of sparks and metal.
Boom, boom, boom.
The sound of explosions echoed through the air. Luke Heron said impatiently, "Brother, don't destroy them all. Remember to leave some so I can take them back to study." Their intelligence is decent, and their attack power is also acceptable. However, their individual combat ability is at most equivalent to a superpower index of 9,000 plus. Zhang Yi made a brief comment. But as soon as those words were spoken, it was as if someone had turned on an alarm for the whole world. All the red monitoring lights on the buildings on all sides lit up at the same time, and the metal strips under the sea surface also stood up one by one. The sky also darkened slightly at the same moment, then returned to normal in the next second. 2 red rings flashed on the surface of the artificial star. Is something big coming? Zhang Yi looked up and squinted. It was as if an invisible door had opened in the sky, and beams of crimson light descended straight down from the heavens, moving at a speed as if they had been calculated in advance. The mechanical life forms that he had just chopped into pieces were brought together by the light, as if drawn by a magnetic field, and they reassembled. Even the shattered joints were quickly filled with new materials, and they were restored to their original state almost instantly. Seeing this, Zhang Yi couldn't help but show a look of surprise in his eyes. What the hell is this? The resurrection of a mechanical life form. The resurrected mechanical life forms seemed to have forgotten the process of being instantly killed by Zhang Yi and swarmed towards him again, launching another dense attack. This is interesting, let's try again. Zhang Yi became interested and continued swinging his sword. This level of attack would not cause him any harm. He wanted to see the principle behind the resurrection of these mechanical life forms. It was clearly a new technology, and whenever he encountered something new, he would consider whether he could incorporate it into his own work. Chapter 2588 Resurrection 2. Faced with wave after wave of attacks from the mechanical life forms, Zhang Yi did very simple things. He simply swung his sword. Nothing more. The netherworld burial transformed into a black wave that spread outwards, pulverizing the newly resurrected mechanical life forms once again. But he didn't waste any more energy eliminating them one by one because he sensed that the real thing was coming. A deep rumble echoed from the direction of the sea. The once calm, steel-like surface of the sea suddenly bulged into an enormous arc. Seawater is not water at all. It is an energy-conducting liquid composed of metal particles and energy beams, which is lifted up from below by some force, like supporting a mountain. Then, an enormous, indescribable shadow rose from the sea. It was an enormous warship. It could also be described as a super-large mechanical life form, except that its shape is more like a floating arc. The whole is a segmented ring structure, with each ring being an independent energy processing layer. The outer layer shimmers with a reddish-gold light from the guide rails, while a black power core is suspended in the center. It floated in midair without any flames or traces of propulsion, completely locked in the air by some kind of high-level magnetic field, without moving an inch. What followed was the display of weaponry. The protective panels on both sides of the deck folded open, revealing rows of coil guns, particle-cutting towers, and gravity beams, all lined up like a moving city that had turned every window into a cannon barrel. Oh! Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, his face showing no tension, but rather a hint of, finally, it's done properly. The airship opened fire, without any warning. The first round was a probing energy whip, with 3 beams as thick as iron pillars slamming into Zhang Yi one after another. All things in the universe erected layers of glass-like protective walls around him, and when the beams of light struck them, they left faint ripples on the surface of the dimensional gate. Zhang Yi was somewhat surprised. This level of energy, it's actually comparable to a night-level superpowered user. In other words, this huge floating warship in front of us has the destructive power of a knight. Its technological sophistication is in no way inferior to that of the Tianhai fortress after its transformation by Liu Karen. Mars civilization is indeed extraordinary. Zhang Yi's attitude became serious. He stared at the massive warship with burning eyes. Then I'll transform you into my shape. The second wave of attacks from the airships has begun. The upper deck of the airship opened, revealing a ring of red launch pads, the accumulated energy inside so powerful that it distorted the air itself. This is a high-density energy puncture. Be careful, brother. Liu Karen's voice rang out again, this time sounding a little nervous. If this caliber were fired into a city, an entire area would be instantly vaporized. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Zhang Yi said it casually. He raised his hand, and the demon blade Divine Refinement was drawn from his palm. The blade grew segment by segment, as if it wanted to drag the entire netherworld out to use as a scabbard. The divine forging was not a single piece of forging. Rather, it was a weapon formed by fusing various other substances with the body of the Green Knight, boss. Strictly speaking, it is a structure of alloy fibers. The divine refinement enveloped the eternal sword of judgment, transforming it into a dark red demonic blade. The blade pointed downwards. The power of the netherworld burial surged forth, like a black river torn apart, crashing vertically from the sky onto the floating warship. The black river was filled with a deathly stillness. Any spaceship in the normal sense, if hit by this attack, would be severely damaged, even if it didn't explode. But this warship actually took the hit head-on. The moment its shell was struck by the Black River, the entire deck lit up with a dense array of hexagonal light grids, each grid being an independent energy cancellation unit. As soon as the Black River reached that layer of grids, it was broken into countless thin streams, as if it were being sorted and weakened, and by the time it finally reached the hull, very little was left. Zhang Yi's expression turned genuinely serious for a moment. Energy splitting plus reverse energy injection. There are such advanced technical methods. This time, Zhang Yi was genuinely surprised. The last time he reacted this way was when he faced the special shield against supernatural abilities of the Songyuan clan's mechanical life forms. Clearly, the Martian civilization's airships possess more advanced technology to counter supernatural abilities. Brother, this thing is amazing. We must not destroy it. We must capture it alive. Liu Karen's voice grew, increasingly excited. Okay, I'll try my best. Zhang Yi's eyes gleamed brightly. No man could resist such a massive war machine. The airship didn't give him any more time to observe. A huge slit opened in its lower abdomen, revealing a spiral energy drill. As soon as that thing came out, the air in the entire inner world was pulled inward. Gravity has been redefined. Zhang Yi's suspended body was pulled down, but he only paused slightly before regaining his balance. You have to be careful of the weaponry at its bottom, Liu Karen warned. That's a structural collapse cannon. It's not aimed at you, but at the spatial node you're in. If it collapses, we'll both fall into the fold below it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have thought it was an unmanned floating warship. Liu Karen and the others almost suspected that it was a powerful night-level superhuman with multiple abilities. Because the various abilities it displays are as miraculous as those of an extraordinary being. Then don't let it hit you. Zhang Yi's tone was unhurried, but a hint of fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. The next second, his shadow suddenly expanded. The demon blade Divine Refinement was no longer a blade, but rather, centered on him, it exploded into countless black vines, each one thick, flexible, and with barbs at the end, like a man-eating black forest. These black vines suddenly shot upwards, wrapping themselves around the armor layers of the floating warship. The warship reacted quickly, with hot, molten patterns appearing on its hull as it attempted to burn the vines. However, the essence of the divine refinement is a renewable plant and e-metal alloy, not an ordinary metal. The moment it is burned off, it grows back next to it, as if it has an endless supply. Combustible. Zhang Yi spoke as he manipulated the vines to entangle the various kinetic nodes of the warship. Was the energy from that light bulb above the group of smaller ones that allowed them to revive? It seems so. Lu Karen's tone also carried a hint of excitement. And it's not just the template, it's also rolling back the state of all the mechanical life forms below it, which is equivalent to reverting their status when they die. It's outrageous. That makes things easier. Zhang Yi's gaze darkened, and he looked up at the sky. Here ends today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.